Hi ho everybody and welcome back to D Plus Us Weekly, the show where we talk about shows exclusive to Disney Plus, episode by episode, week by week, for our enjoyment and yours. I'm one of your hosts, Griffin Donnell, Griffy D, and with me as always is the wonderful, the amazing Mr. Mitch George. How are you doing tonight?
Did you know that when your partner's pregnant, that you also get to eat all of the things you shouldn't be eating?
You told me about this donut run the other night, and I haven't stopped thinking about donuts. To the point, Mitch, where I bought donuts today.
We're not here to talk about donuts, Griffin.
They're very good donuts. Oh, man. What up? We're finally here at the end of the show. Mitch. Episode 8, titled The Acolyte. The show is finally over. Well, the season is finally over. And what a season finale it was. Of course, folks.
It was certainly a finale.
And let me emphasize that word season in that statement.
That is the way that Disney Plus portrayed it. It did not portray it as a series finale, but a season finale.
Mm-hmm. And trust me, the way that this episode runs, it definitely makes sense. Of course, folks, this show is full spoilers for the show, anything relating to Star Wars, both in canon and out of canon. So just fair warning on that front. A little bit of housekeeping before we jump in. This is going to be the last episode of D Plus Us Weekly for a little bit until we figure out what the next show is that we're talking about. Not sure what it is going to be. We'll probably figure it out after D23.
Yeah, or we could just do weekly episodes, each covering a season of The Owl House.
Yeah, then we're like 3 seasons. We're 3 weeks later, and we have no idea what to do after that then.
Daredevil?
Okay, so that's another 3 weeks. We'll figure it out, folks, and we'll let you know somewhere. Probably on the main show, which you can go check out right now. There's a great episode up of the main show, all about the show in the Disney parks. Fantastic. Go check that out right now.
We could also just take a break.
Well, we're probably gonna just take a break.
Or we could do Shogun.
I need to finish that.
I haven't started it.
Maybe that is what we'll do. Obviously, stuff
just got all those Emmy noms.
We're figuring this stuff out.
The Bear?
The Bear's such a good show. That I have a thumbnail ready for that for the main show. Yeah.
Is each season 8 episodes? Oh no, that's 10.
No, they
season
just 10.
Also 10.
I think season 3 is also 10.
Season 1, that's 8.
And it's also like every one of those episodes is like, I need to take a breath afterwards and like, honestly, just go to therapy after every episode.
It's definitely a lot.
Yeah, so we don't know what we're going to be doing next. We're going to figure that out. Go check out our other stuff. If you're listening on podcast services, head on over to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@DPlusUs. Check out the video version, subscribe to the channel, and see all the wonderful stuff we can do with videos. Yay.
Effects.
Yeah, everything's changing color.
Tracing rays and...
I am way too lazy to do anything.
Fade wipes.
Everything is going to just do circle wipes from now on whenever we talk about Star Wars.
That's what Star Wars does.
Yeah, but all that out of the way, let's jump into this week's episode of The Acolyte, the finale, talking about the show as a whole as well as this episode, Mitch. How'd you feel about the wrap-up to this season?
There was some interesting moments, but I do think by and large, I don't know what it is. It's either certain...
Okay, I need to throw this out there. I want you to say this without calling it a CW show again. Because I know where you're going.
I wasn't going to go to the CW comparison. I really wasn't. It's more so there's something... I don't know. There's just... It does seem like more got left on the cutting room floor than should have been. I feel like there's a lot of threads that are left unexplained and a lot of decisions that are left unjustified. Like we don't get an explanation of why Soul killed Mayanosha's mother. We don't get justification for why Vernestra throws Soul under the bus. We don't get an understanding of Vernestra having Kamir as Padawan, and presumably that's where the scars on his back came from, was from her whip. And I get that some of these things are being left open for future seasons, but how do you not wrap up the story with the mom and Soul and all that stuff
See, I feel like
when,
that was fine. Like, I there is
oh,
absolutely
that,
there should be explanation for some things, but I think there's a level of, I hate to throw around the term willy nilly like this. There's a level of media literacy required for this show of, hey, characters are not always going to explain what they do, because guess what? Maybe they don't even know why they did it. They just are trying to do the right thing. And I think that was Soul's entire character is he doesn't know why he's doing what he's doing. He is just trying to do what's right by his standard, and it just, as Vernestra says, it just gets away from him.
yeah. And I think you used a great word there. This show is fine. There's nothing about this show that makes it stand out against the wider Star Wars media empire. There's nothing for me that is, oh my god, this is great. Like you could put a scene from this show in front of me in 3 weeks and I won't remember that it happened.
Interesting,
It,
because I
it
think this has some of my favorite, at least, lightsaber duels in this.
I was gonna say the fight choreography and everything in this is fantastic. I do love that we got. I mean, again, there's layers to this, where we got this subplot of the trial of the Padawan being to kill a Jedi without a lightsaber, because the idea is that, or at least in the Star Wars canon, is you need to bleed the kyber crystal of the Jedi that you slay to craft your first lightsaber.
And seeing it
So
happen
like
in live action
that was cool.
cool.
That was cool, but that for a general audience, and again, I don't love looking at this in the frame of this is a Star Wars show and you need to know everything about this is the same problem that Marvel has run into. There is so much that you need to keep up with that it ends up becoming difficult to just jump in at a point and enjoy the thing as the thing that it is.
That is
Darth
very
Plagueis is
fair.
here. Also, yeah, full spoilers. Like
Yeah, we
we
always have
get
the thing.
a Darth Plagueis cameo, Yoda cameo. We get Kyber crystal bleeding. We get force choking. We get all of these things without a lot of context. And for a general Disney Plus subscriber, this show is not a good fit.
Oh, absolutely not. But I don't think it's for them. I think every show has an audience, and yes, we like to talk a lot about the general audience. But very frankly, especially with streaming specifically, you have that ability to reach those specific audiences. Like, very frankly, I'm not going to recommend this to a general viewer. But if I know someone who's like, I know you like Star Wars and you have not seen this, I'm absolutely going to recommend it to them.
I'm going to recommend it for the action alone, but it's interesting. I've been watching a couple of other shows at the same time as we've been watching this week to week, and that's the latest season of The Boys and the last season of Daredevil from Netflix. And I think that the story that those two shows are telling in, I guess, is this season 3 of The Boys?
This is season 4 of The Boys and
4.
season
And then we season 3
of
of Daredevil.
Daredevil after what was The Defenders.
The Defenders miniseries. So you're looking at something that has years of context and background and subtext. But I would recommend the seasons of those shows that I've been watching as a standalone season of television before I would recommend this to a general audience.
Oh, interesting. Because yeah, I could not say that about The Boys season 4. Like, I love it.
I mean, you
but
can jump into The Boys and enjoy what is going on without a lot of that background, because I think they do a great job, even with a character with characters that have had tragedies happen to them in the course of this show or in flashbacks or whatever. At least that is explained to the audience in a way that it is easy enough to catch up. You're looking at 60 years? No. 50-ish, 45, 40, 50 years of Star Wars mythology, especially with how much was pulled here from the Legend stuff. My webcam looks to have died. Oh, it's back.
No, you're fine.
It was weird. It was like frozen on my side. There's so much context here that is to be learned outside of the scope of this season of television that I think a lot of other media does a better job of being able to present that in an isolated way
That's very fair.
without the need to do all of that extra research.
Yeah,
And I definitely went and Googled Darth Plagueis afterwards because I'm like, that might have been him. And like, I'm a Star Wars fan. I didn't know that he was this specific species and had these specific physical characteristics. I'd be like, all right, who's the Sith?
I'll
in the
be
cave?
really honest. I just vaguely remembered the cover of a book I saw in the library, and I was like,
And that's not the way you should be introduced to
But-
one of the most
but it's
interesting characters in
absolutely
Star Wars
fine as
mythos.
a 2-second cameo, and what it will eventually be something bigger. For me, like I watched this show with someone who is not into this lore like we are. Like I'm watching this with my brother who is like, "Hey, oh, it's a Star Wars. It's a laser sword in space and fun shit." Like he does not care about the mythos in the way that we do. So it was very interesting watching this for us, and he was all in on this season. There was that interpersonal struggle, I think, particularly with Soul, that kept him coming back to this show week after week. And I think in terms of this season's story, ending with Arsha killing Soul, like ending with that and having this very sad moment between May and Osha of you two are finally reunited on the same page, but it can only last for so long. Like, yeah, it is a very sad ending to their story so far, but it is very interesting as to where it sets up, and I think that was interesting enough for me. My issue with this finale isn't any of like the barriers to entry for the series. For me, it is how much they wanted to set up for season 2 in this finale.
That's for me the last probably third of this episode. Everything after Osha finds out that Soul killed her mom feels unearned. And it just felt like they were trying to wrap things up in a way where they would get to tell subsequent stories rather than wrapping up this story. There's no tone or context to Osha killing Soul. She decides to become a Sith apprentice, even though she said she wouldn't, without any justification. Just like, I'll do this, just let my sister go. Like that, it doesn't carry any weight without that context, without that stuff.
I still disagree on that one. One reason and one reason only with that character. It's because it's siblings.
It's not, though. They were very adamant in saying they are not siblings.
Yeah, that's not how they think about each other, though. When it comes down to it, you were a sibling too. I would do anything for my little brother.
Yeah.
Like, logic and reason be damned. Like, I understood that decision, but for me, everything in... What is the name of their planet?
Brendok.
Everything in Brendok I was here for. Like that of all of the Jedi coming. Like that moment where where May and Osha are confronting each other and hear the ship coming over them. Like all that, I'm here for that. It is everything on Coruscant where I'm like, okay. I'm like, two of these
Shout out
scenes.
David Harewood. We got
David
Senator
Harewood was awesome.
We got Senator Martian Manhunter over here.
Yeah, Rayencourt. Which is such a great name.
You want to give me shit about CW shows before this?
Yeah, it's because you keep going back to the same thing every goddamn episode.
They cast the goddamn Martian Manhunter.
Hey, David Harewood is an amazing actor, and you do.
He really is. No, I was really happy to see him pop up. I didn't love the accent. That was weird.
Was that an accent or was that just his voice?
No, he was like trying to do like.
Because I'm just so used to Martian Manhunter that I just genuinely do not know. So
that's also very fair. But,
but like all of that stuff, like for me, that whole speech should have been cut. Like that should not have been in this. The actual Senate hearing, not Senate hearing. I think if we had just left that part,
the emergency meeting, throwing Soul under the bus.
Yeah, leaving that in because that is her explaining it to May. Like, I would have been fine with that because that leads to interesting stuff, and then that leads further into the Padawan story with Kamir. Like, I would have been fine with that because we're kind of setting up a master-apprentice fight again for future seasons of the show. Like, it just does a little too much setup without enough payoff for me. Like, there's little things like, I wish that there was more payoff to Pip. Like all we got was him.
Just get shut down.
Yeah, he just gets shut down. He betrays Osha. Like, okay, I wish we got a little more to that. I wish we got a little more payoff for our boy Basil. Um,
See, what I would have loved more of, and that's the thing is, I don't want to be leaving a show like this wanting more because there's no guarantee we're going to get any more of it. The thing for me is the idea that May and Osha were born of the Force. Like, what does that mean? What does that imply within the larger Star Wars canon? We know this story of Anakin Skywalker being born of the Force. Are we building up to a story where Darth Plagueis or Darth Palpatine? I can't remember his name.
Darth Sidious.
Darth Sidious. Sidious.
Sidious, yeah.
Yeah. Like, is he ultimately the one that experimented and had Anakin be born of the Force to be like the perfect Padawan or something to that extent? Like, we don't know.
Yeah,
And
I don't know if we go
I'm
that far.
curious if we go down that route. I don't think people are going to be happy if we go down that route because people are sick of Star Wars or Skywalker stories.
I honestly
But
think
it feels
that
like
if,
that's what we're building towards, is understanding where May and Osha's conception plays into the idea of Darth Plagueis's whole idea of keeping himself alive forever, as well as that, falling on Darth Sidious after his betrayal.
See, I feel like I feel like for Plagueis in particular with that cameo, I am very much treating that as a cameo. Like, I understand that this will likely have future story consequences if they continue the story. Especially with Plagueis' whole thing being that he was able to create life from the Force. Like, it makes sense.
That's his whole shtick. Yeah.
And it very much makes sense to pop up. Like, no, not Leslie Headland did a interview on a filmmaker toolkit, which I think is actually really worth listening to. And she was very clear, like, yeah, Plagueis was always going to be in the finale. Like, he was always going to be a part of this. So yeah, he is very much going to be a part of a future story, but we don't know how. And I think that that is fine at this point, where it's like, okay, what we have set up right now is something potentially with him, but ultimately it will be Kamir and Osha training together, and the power of two will be those two. And then on the other side, we'll have whatever's happening with May and Vernestra. Like, interesting, I'm here for it. And then we got those four, and then we have our OG powerful pre-established characters on each side. We have Yoda on one side, cute cameo, and Sidious on the other side. Like,
I have problems with the Yoda cameo.
yeah, hit me.
It was gratuitous and it didn't need to be there.
Yeah, but guess what? That's typically what we refer to as a cameo. Like, yeah, of course it was. I did, whatever. It was genuinely one of those things where it's like I didn't care.
But
And I didn't
the thing
do
is,
anything like it.
I want a cameo to that extent to be a nice moment, and at least for me, with how I was feeling having watched this finale, and I think I should probably go back and give it another viewing. But in the scope of my first watch of this, I got to the end, I was somewhat let down, and like when she goes to the door, I'm like, of course this is going to be fucking Yoda, and of course they open the door and it's fucking Yoda.
Yeah,
like, this didn't have to be here, especially with the way that
it's
this let
season
me down.
2 teaser. Like, that's all it is.
I don't think it is. I think same with Plagueis. I don't think they're teasing these. I don't think these cameos are teasing future involvement with the story. I think they're just cameos for the sake of having established Star Wars characters in this episode.
No, I really think they're season 2 fodder. Like, everything I've seen from this interview with Headland is very much a, like, no, there is a bigger story that we are setting up here, leading into the end of the High Republic and the beginning of the Old Republic. New Republic. I don't know what the eras of Star Wars are called anymore.
Star Wars. You got the Dawn of the Jedi, the Old Republic, the High Republic, then the Fall of the Jedi, Reign of the Empire, Age of the Rebellion, the New Republic, Rise of the First Order, the New Jedi Order.
Okay, so which one am I talking to about here?
You're talking
End of
about
the
the High Republic into
and
the Fall of the Jedi.
Fall of the Jedi. Okay.
So
Like-
this is going to be the spark towards the Fall of the Jedi.
Like, reading through this stuff, I'll send you the IndieWire article that I have with that has some quotes and stuff in it, and I'll link it here. But it's like, okay, all of that stuff is interesting enough for me to be like, yeah, I would like a season 2 of this. I really do think all that stuff is season 2 fodder. I think a lot of the uniqueness of the story comes from the fact that up until the very, very, very end, as cameos, or with one exception, there are very few pre-established characters in this show. Like the only pre-established characters are Vernestra and Plo Koon, right?
It wasn't
Not
Plo
Plo Koon.
Koon. It
No,
was
Plo Koon and
Kiadi Mundi.
Kiadi. You cannot blame me for messing up one of like the 5
How
background
can you mess
Jedi.
up Kiadi Mundi when that's all Nick likes to talk about when he's on the show?
I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I black out whenever Nick's on the show.
That's, you know what? Fair.
I love Nick, but we hit a level of chaos that I'm like, I genuinely do not remember what I said afterwards. Like I'm interested in that from like season 2 garbage aside. Not garbage, but you know what I'm saying. For what they wrapped up, for the story that they wrapped up here, I do like for the most part how they wrapped things up. I like that everything kind of imploding on Soul, I think was a very good way to wrap up a lot of the stuff a lot of the conflicts they had here. I would have loved to see more. Don't get me wrong, I do think that this show has been very sloppy. I feel like this show needed 2 more episodes.
Yeah. I said, I enjoyed. There are moments of this show that I enjoyed. There are great scenes. I mean, the lightsaber fights in episode 5 are some of the best.
Dude, the episode fight in this one.
This one too is also very, very well done.
Gratuitous slow motion. You gotta love it.
When you get like the force boomerang thingy to like block the
when he does the 3 kicks is when I was like, okay, maybe we've used the slow motion a little bit too much.
Like, this ain't the Matrix, this is Star Wars. Like I said, there are moments that I enjoyed, but by and large, this for me was fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's not great, it's not okay, it was fine. I think there's definitely room for them to add context in a season 2 that justifies, like, this feels to me, okay, you're gonna love this, because I've made this comparison before too.
Don't you fucking say it.
This is the Thor.
God damn it!
Star Wars. Where in a bubble, it's not great, but other Star Wars properties, whether it be books, movies, television, games, will build the context in for a lot of the decisions that were made here and makes this a better season with that additional context down the line.
I want you to know that I was so angry that I accidentally unplugged my headphones for a second there.
So you didn't hear any of the justification.
No, I hear the justification.
Because then you're going to make another TikTok to go with the last TikTok when I said something else was the Thor, the Dark World or something, and it was probably a Star Wars thing, and I'm going to look really stupid.
I think there's a couple of them now. I keep stitching them.
I'm going to find it.
I should keep stitching them.
I love it. There's just this timeline of terrible Mitch comparisons.
It's always the same justification every single time.
It's either a CW show or Thor, the Dark World. There's no middle ground.
No, I definitely see where you're coming from on it. I think the show is good. In the superfluous ranking system that we should probably establish someday, but fuck that. I would put this at good. I very much agree with a lot of the criticisms of the show. It's sloppy as far as should it exist. There is no reason for it to exist, but I like that exists for that exact reason. There's definitely some times where I don't love the acting. But at the same time, like, Soul is one of my favorite characters in Star Wars now. Like, this is such a very complex character in a way that we just do not get in Star Wars. And I've really, really loved that. To the same extent, Kamir is a villain that I put up there with the likes of Darth Maul in the Clone Wars. And not quite the level of, like, Vader or Thrawn, but I'm definitely putting him up there for this just presence that Manny Jacinto brings to the character. Like,
I want more because there's a vulnerability to the character when he doesn't have the mask on, and he's actually really likable and really
the opening of this
not to
episode, right? Like when he pulls the mask off of Osha, like he's a villain who cares. And like, because that's the thing, he's not really a villain. He's She
He
just
just
happens to be a Sith.
doesn't agree with the Jedi for his reasons, and we're gonna get more of that probably in a book because we're not gonna get season 2 of the show.
I think we'll get season 2. I think this is doing well enough numbers to get season 2. I know there's been a pretty big drop off since I want to say episode 3, 4, one of those.
Doesn't matter.
But I know I do think that there will still. I think we'll get more of this because I do want to see how the story goes. But that is all.
Again, they're building towards the birth of Anakin Skywalker, and the internet is not going to be happy about it.
Mm-hmm. I don't think they're doing that shit. I don't think they're that
definitely
dumb.
doing it, and people are not going to be happy. And I can't wait for the internet to.
I will
be
make
happy
the pizza
about Star
bet
Wars
with you right now.
again.
I'm making a pizza bet on this. They are not going to do this as the lead into the birth of Anakin Skywalker.
Okay, not this, but this thread, this plot point of these girls being born of the Force, will eventually lead to understanding how Anakin was conceived.
Okay, that is an entirely different
but it will
statement.
happen somewhere in Star Wars.
Yeah, I would still take the pizza bet on that.
All right, pizza bet.
Obviously, we won't know anything until the future. That's all in the future.
Oh, it's gonna be that's like a pizza bet. I'm gonna cash in like 15 or 20 years.
And if you were right, I will happily send you the pizza.
I think you were already right on the taco bet, so I'm gonna send you some tacos.
I'm good without tacos.
What? No, everyone needs tacos.
Well, no, there's like 2 good places to get tacos around here. They are both very local and very much undeliverable. So
that's why you get cash, and that cash becomes tacos.
fair enough. Anyways, folks, we don't know what the next episode where the next episode will be, but we will see y'all then. In the meantime, go check out the normal show. Deadpool and Wolverine coming soon. D23 coming soon. A very, very exciting thing. Other episode coming soon.
I forget what that is. You got to remind me what I need to watch coming soon.
Not necessarily something you have to watch. I'm
dumb. It's fine. Whatever.
A lot of stuff happening here on the panel, so keep an eye out. Mitch, where can people keep an eye out exactly?
On the internet at D+us, YouTube, probably the best spot. Go like, subscribe, share, tell all your friends, coworkers, elderly relatives who don't understand YouTube but can have an account. Children, yes, I will create a YouTube account for our unborn child and make sure that they like, follow, and subscribe to all things D+us.
Yeah, go check us out. Go check out other stuff. And until then, bright suns, and have a magical day.
Bye.